I'm still sick. I'm tired. I've got homework that I need to be doing, and I ruined it. I wore a hat this morning. You know, when you wear a hat in the morning, you set your whole day up for failure because then you have to be a hat person the entire day. I didn't think I was going to be recording a video today, so I didn't think it was going to be a problem that I wore a hat, but my hair is ruined, so now I need to wear a hat in the video as well. Ah! What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing another Godzilla Vs Kong news and updates. I'm trying to bring some energy to the negative situation. James Bond isn't the only one battling the coronavirus. I've been fighting it for the past week now. Alright, let's talk about Godzilla Vs Kong, shall we? Starting out, this is the only non-James Bond story, so if you're going to cry about chapter times, just skip this one section. Imran Hussein, I don't know if I even remotely pronounced your name right. He sent in his Godzilla Vs Kong fan poster. He submitted this for me to show it off, and so here you go. Gonna show it off. Pretty epic, like the silhouettes and the cool colors in the background. Alright, there you go. All the art for the episode is done. Well, let's talk about this juicy James Bond story, shall we? I know, it's got a lot of people freaked out. I'm gonna tell you in this video why it's not as big of a deal as you guys think it is. So yeah, this video is actually gonna be significantly more positive than most of the other people in the community covering the news. I've seen a lot of people really worried about this, and I'm not necessarily as worried about this as most people, so we're gonna run through why in this video. For those of you who don't know, the new James Bond film, which is the 25th James Bond film, interesting that James Bond is like 10 films behind Godzilla. I think that's kind of cool. They're both like really long-running, well-established franchises. Godzilla just happens to be like a decade and 10 movies ahead. No Time to Die, the newest James Bond movie, has been pushed back from April 10th. It has now been pushed back to November 25th, and the reason for this is, at least publicly, due to fears of the coronavirus. I don't know what they did. They reached out to people online, it sounds like. They listened to what people online were saying. There was a lot of James Bond fans worried that the movie was gonna tank, and they did some analysis of how they thought the movie would perform at the box office currently, given fears of the coronavirus, given the fact that overseas coronavirus is a huge issue, given the fact that here in America it's now becoming a widespread issue, or people are afraid it is going to become a widespread issue, so movie theaters are being avoided, especially in like the New York area. They were testing out what's going to happen with this, and they decided that ultimately it was going to be beneficial to delay the movie from April 10th, which it wasn't even going to come out this month. They're going to delay it from April 10th all the way to November 25th. We're going to break down the full analysis of this later. I'm just going to run through the actual headlines here first before we actually do the breakdown. That occurred. Gurmuru Island, they started to sweat on Twitter. I was shocked to see Gurmuru Island started to be panicked about this because they're usually very level and calm and they know what's going on. They got a little worried about this, which made me a little nervous until I did some deeper digging. So yeah, they started to sweat on Twitter. They talked about how Godzilla Vs Kong could possibly succeed. We'll talk about that as well. They talked about the potential of a delay again, which we'll talk about that potential as well. We got theories sent to us by Jokester B on Twitter about Universal looking to sabotage the MonsterVerse. There was just a lot going on. A lot of people were freaking out. Kaiju News Outlet was weighing in on this. I was getting so many messages about this situation that I had to make my video as soon as possible so I could talk about it. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but we'll go through it. We got a lot of deep digging that we can go through. I don't know how deep it is. It's a lot of my opinions here is what we're really talking about when I say deep digging. We've got a lot of things to cover. It is a heavy topic, all right? Godzilla Vs Kong's delay, though. That is one thing I want to discuss. Not the delay potential that might happen again, but the original delay. Delaying the movie from March 13th all the way to November 20th. That delay occurred, right? How heartbreaking is it to think that we could only be 10 days away from Godzilla Vs Kong? I'm actually ultra relieved that the movie got delayed for a lot of reasons. This is just way too busy of a time period for me for the movie to be coming out now. That'd be really awful for me. I would be so stressed out right now if the movie was actually coming out in 10 days. And also, that would really kill the MonsterVerse hype forever, right? After Godzilla Vs Kong, it either is a make or break situation. We'll either get more or we won't, but regardless, it is going to be a period period of drought after Godzilla vs. Kong, of uncertainty while we wait to hear what the next move is going to be. So I don't know. I'm pretty glad that it got delayed, if I'm being honest. But the delay was inevitable. There's no way the movie would still be coming out in 10 days given this situation with coronavirus, given especially the situation in China where we're banking on the Chinese box office to help out Godzilla vs. Kong. They would have had to delay this movie regardless. And now if the movie was still in the position of March 13th and they hadn't delayed it, it would be too late to delay it now. With only, it's technically 9 days left. With only 9 days before release, 8 days before early previews. It's almost 7 days because we're basically done with March 4th. So the movie would have failed. It would have bombed horribly because they couldn't delay it now. If it was still coming out the 13th, there's nothing they could do. Their hands are tied at this point. Nothing they can do. The movie would have failed. So I don't know. I think that with the power of hindsight, this delay till November was a fantastic move on their part. But let's talk about all the other stuff. Eternals. I know this is still a point of contention, so I want to quickly run through it. I've talked about Eternals in the original discussion of the delay of Godzilla vs. Kong. Look, it's most likely going to perform along the lines of Ant-Man 2, which was by no means a flop. Ant-Man 2 made money, but it did not make nearly the same level of money as the other MCU films. Eternals is probably going to perform very similar. Eternals is a property that isn't even very well liked by fans who know what the Eternals are. They don't really like it. There's not a whole lot of hype for that movie. It's not very mainstream, and I know Marvel has a tendency, or the MCU I should say, has a tendency to take a Marvel property and then make it mainstream, and I do think that could happen here with the Eternals, but this is a post-Endgame world. A lot of people have moved on from the MCU. A lot of media has turned on the MCU recently. I still love the MCU. I'm just trying to be objective here. The movie's not very well liked, and it's certainly not very hyped up. Black Widow's got a lot more hype. The Disney Plus streaming series are a much bigger point of discussion for Marvel fans than Eternals. No one really cares about Eternals. It is most likely going to perform on the lower end of the MCU spectrum, significantly lower, especially in this post-Endgame era where it's uncertain how the MCU is going to go from here. No one really knows what's going to happen from this point on, so we'll just have to wait and see. I'm just trying to say I don't think it's going to be a threat to Godzilla vs. Kong. It comes out 2 weeks before Godzilla vs. Kong. There's 2 weeks of breathing room. Marvel movies are incredibly front-loaded. Eternals is not going to be the biggest detriment to Godzilla vs. Kong, all right? Eternals is significantly less competition than Mulan would have been. It's going to be less competition than a lot of other things could have been, you know? All things taken into perspective here, of any MCU movie for Godzilla vs. Kong to be coming out around, Eternals is probably a good one. Now, Bond's delay. I mean, Bond's delay may signal more delays to come. As I said, Godzilla vs. Kong would have probably had to be delayed as well, unless it was still at this point where Bond was the first one to move its release date. Godzilla vs. Kong would be locked into position. They couldn't do anything about it now. But this may signal more delays to come. Mulan is maybe gonna get delayed. I'm not totally sure what they're gonna do about Mulan, but if Mulan gets delayed, it's a clear sign that things were not gonna go well for Godzilla vs. Kong. It'll be interesting though. Mulan could get delayed. I don't think Mulan would move till November, so don't worry about that, because November already has a Disney release, and Eternals came out in the very beginning of November. So they're not gonna put 2 massive Disney releases in the same month, I don't think. I just can't see it being like, you start the month with Eternals, and you get a Disney animated film, and then you end the month with Mulan. I think that's too much Disney. I think even Disney realizes that's too much Disney, so that's not gonna happen. So don't worry about that occurring. Bond's downfall. Let's talk about that. This movie, and again, I'm trying to be objective here, and we'll talk about my opinions on this movie in a second on No Time to Die. Not that that's what you're here for, but we will anyways. This movie is on a downfall. It's a bit of a downward spiral, as our boy Emblemin might say. I don't really want to be political on this channel, but the movie is being targeted by a bunch of people using the term get woke, go broke. Again, I'm not trying to give my personal opinion on any of this, but the movie is certainly not being received with open arms the way it would have been had they not injected social justice politics into the film, and that is just a fact. Again, I'm not trying to give my opinion on this. That's just a fact. They stated that this was going to be the first James Bond movie to ever fit in a post-Me Too era, right? That was a big point of marketing for this film, is that this film is going to be a very socially conscious James Bond movie. It's featuring this female lead who's supposed to be better than Bond. I don't know. It just feels like, from what I've seen online, a lot of fans felt alienated by the changes they're making to the franchise. Whether you agree with those changes or not doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to this conversation. I'm just saying that a lot of fans were alienated by what happened, so the movie lost a lot of support already. A lot of people have turned on the film. It did not have as much interest as it could have. It's not coming off the back of a James Bond movie that was very well received. Spectre was not well received. People didn't really like it. So it'll be interesting to see what people think now. I know there was a lot of hype for the movie all of a sudden recently, and we will talk about why that hype happened and how that doesn't necessarily benefit the film. But there was a lot of hype for the film recently. I even kind of got hyped for No Time to Die, and I haven't even caught up on the Craig Bond movies yet. I was planning on it, but even I got hyped for the movie. People have already bought tickets for the movie. They've already bought tickets for the April release. They are pissed off on Twitter that they have to to get refunds and can't go to the theater to go see it. People are pissed, so fans have turned on the movie even more. A lot of fans feel betrayed by the movie getting pushed back. However, like I said, the biggest fan groups, they do still support the movie. They do still support the change. They think it was a good decision. You know, there's a give and take here, but I'm just saying a lot of fans felt really betrayed by it. But ultimately, I think the biggest problem is they've put too much time between this and Billie Eilish. The song came out, right? We've already heard the song. We've already heard No Time to Die, the theme for the movie. People got really into it. It got me hyped for the film. I don't know. They put too much time between the song and the movie. You can't restart that fire. It's already going. It's gonna burn out. I don't see that one song carrying the hype the way it is now. If you look online, that song has more buzz than the actual movie. That's not gonna carry through almost a full year. It just isn't gonna happen. But that leads to Bond's strengths. The movie still has some strengths, Billie Eilish being the biggest one in my opinion. And again, I know I'm biased because I love Billie Eilish, but in my opinion, that was the biggest strength the movie had going for it. A lot of people we're just gonna go see the movie just to support her because her song is a song in the movie. So I just think it is gonna work to the film's detriment to delay it, given that the song's already out. That killed a lot of hype. And again, going along with that, Daniel Craig's gonna be on Saturday Night Live promoting the film. That was what he was supposed to be doing this Saturday night, and the movie got delayed. What is he gonna do? He's gonna go on there and be like, oh, well, they're gonna have to address that. You know there's gonna be sketches about the film getting delayed. It is a problem, and Universal already has put a lot of time into marketing this film, which could be a strength or a weakness. We could say it's a weakness because they've put a lot of money into marketing the movie and then they're delaying it, so now it is a problem on their part. What are they gonna do? They put so much money into it. Now they're gonna have to continue that ad campaign over so many months, and they're also gonna have to ramp it back up towards November once they get to like October, November, the way they have currently. That is gonna be an issue for Universal. Or here's where it could play into their strengths. It could inspire Universal to be incredibly aggressive with their marketing for this movie because now it must succeed. The film has been delayed really close to the release date. I don't think I've ever heard of a movie this big getting delayed this close to its release date, but that's just me personally. It may have happened. I just don't know. They're going to have to be incredibly aggressive with their ad campaign, and they may smother Godzilla vs Kong to death. That might happen. That's a big possibility, that their ad campaign might be so aggressive that they murder the two biggest titans in the world. And this could be a double whammy situation where James Bond and Raya the Last Dragon, which is the Disney animated film coming out the same day as James Bond, November 25th, I believe that's what we said. Those two movies are coming out the same day. Now they're going to be competing with each other. They might be the double whammy that the universe needs to wipe the monsterverse out. Now you've got families going to Raya the Last Dragon rather than Godzilla vs Kong, and you've got adults going to James Bond rather than Godzilla vs Kong. That is a huge potential that those two movies could be this ultimate destruction of the monsterverse, and that would be terrible. I'd feel horrible if that happened. That sucks. But I also don't think it's totally likely. Raya the Last Dragon is unheard of. It's unadvertised. So little is known about this. They don't even have hardly a cast labeled for the movie, and it's supposed to come out this year. I feel like it's pretty odd for a Disney movie of this proportion to be unheard of, untalked about. I looked into it online. No one's even talking about this movie yet. I mean, we have to wait until we get trailers and everything starts to come out for the film, but at the moment, I don't think Raya and the Last Dragon is going to be the biggest threat. It'll be interesting to see how the Asian markets respond to it, given everything that's going on, and given that it's an Asian film. But also, Godzilla vs Kong is a very Asian film, takes place in China, and it has Godzilla, a Japanese character, leading the film. So that'll be interesting to see which one of those the foreign markets prefer. But yeah, it could potentially be delayed. I don't know. That's unlikely, but it could potentially be delayed. I don't know. But Disney animated films, they typically dominate. So if it does get released at this point, I'm sure it'll do very well. I just don't know if it'll be the big threat that a lot of people make it out to be. Personally, I don't think it will be. I don't think it's going to be the big threat. I think the double whammy of James Bond and Raya might pose a threat to Godzilla vs Kong, but ultimately, I don't know. Now, there's still some hope. Grimuru Island pitched their version of hope on Twitter. I don't necessarily agree with it entirely, but I agree with some aspects of it. They talked about how Godzilla vs Kong is going to need an aggressive wide-scale marketing campaign. I do agree with that. They're going to be fighting James Bond. They're going to need that. They said that they could make it a Thanksgiving event. For sure. I definitely think making the movie a holiday event would be very good. If the film is well received by general audiences and critics, it'll do just fine. That is absolutely true. And here's the heartbreaking thing that I know it sucks to admit, but it's absolutely the truth. Rotten Tomatoes is what's going to make or break Godzilla vs Kong, I feel. The critic reception to Godzilla vs Kong and the general audience reception to the movie, that is what's going to make the film. I truly do believe that, so I hope the movie is received well. Although the thing is, Bond, Raya, and Godzilla vs Kong have all been listed as the potential top 15 performers of the year, so all three movies are estimated to do pretty well, and that's coming from an official box office website I have linked down below. So I think all three movies still stand a shot of doing pretty well, and they do come out at different weekends, so it's not like they're all coming out the same day, which Godzilla King of the Monsters did face competition from like Rocket Man the same day, and then some other films immediately after it. Godzilla Godzilla vs Kong as it stands is the only film on its weekend, so I think it's okay. And Godzilla vs Kong, the biggest thing that's benefiting it at the moment is they did not market the March release date, and they haven't even marketed the film at all yet, so they are not losing money in the marketing department yet. I don't know how much it costs to get that poster everywhere, but they're not losing money on the film. They're not losing money like James Bond did. So at the very least, the movie might not tank the way James Bond has the potential to. Another delay is another possibility that Gomorrah Island pitched, which I don't necessarily agree with, but they said the movie could get delayed. It was originally delayed specifically to avoid competition from films like Mulan. They put it much later so that they could work on the VFX, so that they could make the film the best that it could possibly be, and so that it could get away from competition. Now we know currently the film is not finished, so it definitely shouldn't have been rushed to come out in March. They're not finished with the film. Sounds like, as we'll talk about in a little bit, visual effects are only 50% done, which is interesting. Wingard has said they still need a few months to work on post, and the film just wouldn't have been as good if it came out now. But if we're talking about a strictly competition aspect of it, delaying the movie is a potential. I don't know. Gomorrah Island pitches putting it in December, where I think Doom is supposed to come out or something. Dune? Is it Dune? I don't know. I don't care. Coming out in December, Gomorrah Island pitches putting Godzilla vs Kong on that release date and then pushing Dune, I think it is Dune, until 2021. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see that occurring because Dune has already been pushed back. So that's just, I don't think they're going to do that a second time personally, but I don't know. The way I see it, you're never going to avoid conflict. March was a pretty solid release date. It turned out not to be. Now that we're in March, we can see that, but it looked like it was going to be. There's other places like August that could still potentially be safe for Godzilla vs Kong. I don't know. I think November was a smart play to go with November. It made sense at the time they did it. Now that they moved James Bond here, you go, oh, well, now it's a crowded weekend. I don't think they should run. I think they should stick to their guns. You're never going to avoid competition in the film industry. Something like this is always going to happen. So I think stick to your guns here and go for it. Theories about Universal Sabotage saying Fast and Furious 9 was pushed till May so that Godzilla vs Kong would have to face it. Invisible Man was pushed till February so Godzilla vs Kong would have to face it pretty shortly after. I don't know. I do see the trend. I see what you're pointing out here, Jokester B, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. Moving James Bond to November is a logical decision. It is. It's not like it's a conspiracy in this aspect, because I do believe that here with James Bond, it was the best choice they could have made. Pushing it to November, I mean, why did Godzilla vs Kong get moved to November? Think about it. Godzilla vs Kong got moved to November because it had the least amount of competition possible. Moving James Bond to that same area, they're doing the same thing that Warner Brothers did. It's not like they're doing it to counteract Warner Brothers or target them. They're doing it because it was a solid month to release a movie. I don't know. I just think that that is not necessarily indicative of conspiracy. The biggest thing working for Godzilla vs Kong, and I know not a lot of people probably stuck through this whole video to make it here, but I appreciate the ones who did, because I've not heard anybody in the Godzilla community talk about this as of my time of recording this. Grace Randolph, who, you know, is of questionable legitimacy when it comes to her insiders. We don't know anything about her insiders, but personally, as I've said in the past when I've covered her inside news, I'm inclined to believe her, even though I think it could be hit or miss, but she's typically pretty spot on with her inside information. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm going to actually hope that she is right. She did predict, I guess you could say predict. She knew that Godzilla vs Kong got delayed before it publicly got delayed. She's known a lot of stuff before it publicly gets revealed. And so again, I'm going to say, I believe her, and in this case, I really hope she's right. Where she talked about Godzilla vs Kong. She did report that the Godzilla vs Kong test screenings, and I will quote, went incredibly well. Godzilla vs Kong tested through the roof with only 50% of the VFX done. Imagine when it's all done. That was her quote. So the movie apparently did very, very well at the test screening that just happened a week ago. I know I was just giving articles crap for saying it was received super well because there was only a few reviews online at the moment. But Wingard has said it went well. The reviews we've heard have been very positive. And now she's saying from her insiders, the movie was received really well, tested through the roof with only 50% of the VFX done. That's incredible. I'm really excited for that. I hope that's true. She still says that Godzilla vs Kong could be facing rough competition with James Bond, as it's the only other adult film coming out at that time. But she also mentioned how Bond will be facing more competition than Godzilla vs Kong. Bond also has to fight Godzilla vs Kong. Godzilla vs Kong is something that Bond is going up against. It's not just Godzilla going up against Bond. And James Bond is followed by apparently a lot of big releases. So James Bond is kind of trapped here. I know I said it was the best place to move the movie, and I truly do believe that, but they also put themselves in a corner here by pushing it back to where now they're facing competition on both sides. So it's interesting, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know, guys. That's my analysis of everything going on. This video turned out way longer than I thought it was. Ugh. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.